This is the Crisscross Show. So I'm back. It's been about 3 weeks since I last had a video. But anyways, I am back with my early MVPs for this year, my top 5 MVP candidates. We are third into the season in, so that's one thing I will be talking about. And also, be giving you my top 10 teams in the NBA right now. So enjoy. So before I start my rankings and my top 5 MVP candidates right now, I should mention some news that I heard today about my favorite broadcaster, Colin Cowherd. So Colin Cowherd hasn't been on the show recently because he's been dealing with some health problems. And obviously I'm wishing him on a speedy recovery, but I thought I should mention that Colin Cowherd is the inspiration to me doing these YouTube videos, and as well as the inspiration to me starting this back in college. So I had a radio station in college, and I only talked about sports. I start my show just like he does with his. So he's been very, very inspirational to me. So I just want to say speedy recovery. If you listen to Colin Cowherd, I don't know how you feel about him, whether you like him or you don't, but just know that he is the inspiration to me doing this, and I wish him a speedy recovery. So anyways, gonna start the show. Enjoy. All right, so we are a third into the season in. Some teams have played 25, 26 games. It is a 72-game season, so we are around the third of the season in. So without further ado, my top 5 MVP candidates right now. So I know over the years we've done MVP based on the player who's the best player on the best team with the best record. So obviously, last 2 years it's gone to Giannis Antetokounmpo because he had the best record in the league. So, why not give it to the best player on the team with the best record? So, anyways, going on to the MVP rankings. So these MVP rankings are based off of where they are now, where their teams are, and how valuable they are to their team. So without further ado, number 5, Nikola Jokic. I know the Denver Nuggets right now are 12 and 11. They're 7th in the Western Conference. But again, without Nikola Jokic, they would be a dumpster fire because he's the only thing keeping them together. He had a 50-point triple-double, I think, or a 50-point double-double in a loss to Sacramento. So he's trying his best. The team's not as great. Obviously, they lost Jeremy Grant, and I think they lost a couple of other players. And, they're trying to put it together. Not many defenders on that team, so to say. So Nikola Jokic is averaging 27 points per game, 11 rebounds, and 8.5 assists, almost a triple-double for a center. So that's that's actually pretty great. So obviously the record doesn't show it's 12 and 11. I predicted the Denver Nuggets to be one of the top 3 seeds in the Western Conference. So not playing up to their standards, in my opinion. I think they could be better. But Nikola Jokic is number 5. Number 4, Chris Paul. Now, a lot of people will not vote for Chris Paul. He won't get any votes for MVP because, again, he doesn't shine with his stats. He's not top 10 in points per game. He's not top 10. I think he might be top 10 in assists, but that's about it. Nobody cares about assists, apparently. So Chris Paul has changed the Phoenix Suns, right? The Phoenix Suns, they've been, hot and cold this young season. But again, they're trying to get their chemistry right. When you put a player like Chris Paul, that's such a great player, and put him with a young team, there's a process. So again, Chris Paul has made the Phoenix Suns that much better. I predicted the Phoenix Suns, if they didn't get Chris Paul, they would have still been a borderline playoff team. But Chris Paul just makes them a playoff team because this year, the borderline playoff teams are 7 through 10 seeds. So Chris Paul puts them in that 5th and 4th seed. So he is my number 4 for MVP candidates. Number 3, Joel Embiid. Everyone's saying Joel Embiid is the clear-cut MVP. He's missed about 8 games. I mean, unless you only care about MVPs when they play and the impact they have, when they're not playing or when they're playing, or however you want to see it. But he is averaging 29 points per game and 11 rebounds. He has missed about half a dozen games. So in my opinion, I feel like you can't play 52 games of a 72-game season and be MVP. You got to play 65 games. You can't. I mean, he's already on pace to play 50 games. So, but he is pretty good. His team is the best team in the Eastern Conference record-wise. I think they are going to go to the NBA Finals this year if they stay like this. Obviously, they got some good pieces like the Curry brother. What's his name? Seth Curry. Ben Simmons is playing great. And, getting rid of Al Horford really helps that team a little bit more. And also, Danny Green is a 3-and-D guy, so he is also a perfect addition for them. Number 2, Donovan Mitchell. His team owns the best record in the NBA. They're 20-5. The Utah Jazz are. He's playing out of his mind. He's averaging 24 points per game, but again, that's because he had a slow start to the beginning of the year, and he's picked it up since. I think he had like 36 points the other night in a win. They are 20-5. They're playing amazing. They do have some key games coming up soon. Most notably one against the Lakers in about two weeks. So it's going to be the real test for the Utah Jazz. Right now, the Utah Jazz have been picking on teams, kind of lower tier teams. Right now, they haven't really gotten to the competitive teams, but their record is 20-5. They've been playing pretty good. I think they had like a 10-game win streak at some point this season. So Donovan Mitchell, in my opinion, is second in MVPs. Number 1, of course, LeBron James. He's averaging 25 points per game, 8 rebounds, 8 assists. He's holding it together. I mean, you've got to give him some credit. Anthony Davis has been missing a lot of games. He's going to miss again tonight against the Thunder. A new team, essentially, getting Dennis Schroeder, Montrezl Harrell, adding a couple of new pieces on the bench like Wesley Matthews, just kind of orchestrating all that and still being a second seed in the Western Conference with a 19-6 record. Again, I mean, he's on the fly. Anthony Davis is averaging, 20 points per game, probably the lowest since his second year in the league. So again, he's going through all that. He's holding it together. If you take LeBron out and Anthony Davis struggling like this, that team is not a playoff team. Anthony Davis, especially with Anthony Davis not playing up to his standards, as we saw last year when he was averaging like 27 points per game. So again, I think LeBron is the MVP here. He deserves it. He got robbed last year, most notably, because I feel like the voters who vote get tired of putting his name on there. It happens when you're great for a long time. So I think LeBron will win the MVP. He is the early MVP for this year, even though we are third into the season. So those are the top 5. Number 5, Nikola Jokic. Number 4, Chris Paul. Number 3, Joel Embiid. Number 2, Donovan Mitchell. And again, number 1, LeBron James. Up next is the top 10 NBA teams right now. Okay, so this is the one where I feel really bad about missing. My last rankings were January 19th. And the top 10 teams were from 10 to 1. Portland, Indiana, Brooklyn, Phoenix, Memphis, Milwaukee, Utah, the Clippers, Philadelphia, and the Lakers. So I was doing my rankings, but I wasn't making a video. I did have the Lakers February 2nd, the week of February 2nd, out of first place. I do think Philadelphia, when they beat them about 2 weeks ago, they established themselves as a really great team that they can play against the best. So I did give Philadelphia number 1 last week. But anyways, moving on to this week, the top 10 NBA teams. As of right now, again, I base my rankings off how they're playing right now, and if they were put in the playoffs right now, how they would compare to everyone else. So without further ado, number 10, the New Orleans Pelicans. They have won 4 in a row. They're looking great. I remember when they were like 5-12, and everyone was saying that Stan Van Gundy should be fired, that he shouldn't have been hired. But again, we need to be patient with coaches. We're not patient anymore. If someone goes on a 2-game losing streak, we call for their job. I just feel like we should play the wait game. We're too much into win now mode. We need to slow down. We need to let players develop. So number 10, the New Orleans Pelicans. They've been streaky, so who knows, the next week they might not make the top 10. But right now, 4-game win streak. They do play the Chicago Bulls tonight. I am taking them to beat the Chicago Bulls tonight. Number 9, the Denver Nuggets. The only reason I put Denver Nuggets in the top 10 is because of Nikola Jokic. He's been playing out of his mind. He's the only thing keeping them together. He's their best player. He's one of the top 10 best players in the NBA right now. They are 12-11. They are on a 3-game lose streak. They were pretty hot before, but they've kind of cooled down a little bit. But the Denver Nuggets do crack my top 10 at number 9. Number 8, the San Antonio Spurs. They're 14-11. They've been 6-4 in their last 10 games. They're quietly good. That's just how San Antonio is. San Antonio is quietly good. They'll beat you, and then you won't realize it because they're not like they don't have a player that pops out. They have DeMar DeRozan, who again a lot of people are kind of bored of. So the San Antonio Spurs are 14-11, been playing pretty good basketball. So they did lose to Golden State yesterday, but they did beat Golden State the other day convincingly. So San Antonio at number 8. Number 7, the Brooklyn Nets. Kevin Durant's been out because of COVID protocols. So it's been James Harden and Kyrie Irving. And they don't play a lick of defense. Like, I feel like they don't care about the defensive end. Their mentality is more, we're going to score more than you. And again, they do have Mike D'Antoni as an assistant. And obviously a Mike D'Antoni, a player that he had as an MVP in Steve Nash. So again, they're just up and down the court. We're going to score, we're going to score, we're going to score. Again, their offense is 7 seconds or less. So Brooklyn is number 7 with a 14-12 record. I do think when Kevin Durant comes back, they're going to score a lot more. They're going to win a lot more. But again, the defense kind of scares me here. They need a defender. They need to commit on the defensive end, or at least try. Number 6, the Milwaukee Bucks. And the only reason I say the Milwaukee Bucks is because they're on a 5-game win streak. They've been quietly good. They've been going under the radar. They're playing a little bit better. The chemistry's better. And, again, Milwaukee's a good regular season team. They're going to impress you in the regular season. But once the playoffs come, they're a second round, maybe Eastern Conference team until they get a player that they can rely on. Chris Middleton, again, was pretty great in the bubble last year. But, again, he's not like a top tier, top 15 player. So Milwaukee is at number 6. Up next is the top 5. And I'm excited to show you who's in the top 5. Okay, top 5. 5 best teams. I'm going to tell you right now, 1 Eastern Conference team, 4 Western Conference teams. Number 5, the Phoenix Suns. Phoenix Suns, again, have been hot or cold this season. They are on a 3-game win streak. They've been playing really, really great basketball. Again, Chris Paul, Devin Booker have been pretty good. DeAndre Ayton has also been quietly good. So I do give the Phoenix Suns number 5. Number 4, the LA Clippers. I was thinking about moving the Clippers up, but they're good, but I just feel like they haven't popped this year. Like, there hasn't been an impressive win. I feel like Paul George says he's this, but then when he plays the game on a Tuesday night, he's not that. So they are 17-8, which is 3rd in the Western Conference. They were ahead of the Lakers standing wise for about 5 days, and they kind of came down to earth. Lost about 2 games in a row, and are at number 4 for me. Number 3 is the Utah Jazz. The only reason I say the Utah Jazz are number 3 is because I think right now, if they play the Clippers in a 7-game series, that they'll beat the Clippers in about 6 to 7 games, because I think the Utah Jazz know who they are. The Clippers are still trying to figure that out. So that's why I give Utah the edge over the Clippers, just barely, with number 3. Also, they have the best record in the league. And, they had a 10-game win streak at some point this season. So Utah Jazz at 3. Number 2, the Philadelphia 76ers. Last week, I had them in first. As I mentioned earlier, they are 18-7 when Joel Embiid plays. They're pretty great. A great amount of good players in each position. So they have Seth Curry, Danny Green as their sharpshooters, Ben Simmons as their distributor, and Joel Embiid as just their guy who does everything, in a sense. So the Philadelphia 76ers still, to me, are the best team in the Eastern Conference, and I think their record shows that. And I think that the way they're playing right now, they can easily easily make the NBA Finals. Number 1, the LA Lakers. Again, Anthony Davis hasn't been playing great, but I think once the playoffs comes, once it matters, Anthony Davis is going to step up his game. He's going to play amazing. LeBron, we already know he's going to be consistent. Dennis Schroeder was the best acquired player that they got because he's fast. He's tricky with the ball. You don't know what he's going to do. You don't know if he's going to pass or shoot. His 3-pointers are right, but, you know, I feel like him driving to the basket's just unstoppable. I mean, he's just too quick, especially when he gets the mismatch on a center. And also Montrezl Harrell can get rebounds whenever he wants to. And also, you know, the team likes each other. So when the team chemistry is great, I think that they are still number 1 because of that. Because when it comes time, they're gonna play up to the standards. And I just think that no one can beat them right now. Philadelphia did beat them, but I think in a 7-game series, when you actually have to prepare and plan for a team instead of just, hey, on a Tuesday night, I'm going to go to your city. When you have to plan and prepare, I think that the Lakers are going to plan and prepare better than anyone else on the league. And I think that, in my opinion, the Lakers are just going to dominate the Philadelphia 76ers or dominate anybody in the Western Conference when it comes time. So those are my top 10. Again, number 10, the New Orleans Pelicans. Number 9, Denver Nuggets. 8, San Antonio. 7, Brooklyn. 6, Milwaukee. 5, Phoenix. 4, Clippers. 3, Utah. 2, 76ers. And obviously number 1, the Lakers. So those are my rankings. They're not ESPN's rankings because they're a little bit more accurate and they're more thought out on teams, the best teams right now. So I hope you enjoyed. I'll see you guys next time for next week's rankings.